okay, I'm going to give the LLM a view of the world where their knowledge gap is. So you don't know about economy in Hong Kong. I'm going to get you the entities and their relationships for the economy in Hong Kong. And then when you look at this and you start to traverse the graph and have thoughts, you're able to reason and answer based on these facts instead of just making up things. So of course, you guys might have heard about, vector databases, vanilla vector databases, but as we've explained with Google search, I'm not just looking at the content as one piece. I'm actually checking something more layered, more semantically rich. There are actually objects in this content, and there are relationships that are described between these objects. And when we're able to see the world in this way, we're able to make more richer observations and have more semantically layered reasoning. Essentially, it's like I'm explaining to you. This is Basant. Basant loves Bruno Mars. Bruno Mars is gonna perform in this place, so you can see what's going on, as opposed to me telling you, you know what? Okay, so take this particular book. This book is gonna explain to you things about celebrities and where they're going to be, and just take this website, let's say it's a website with people interested, and then what the vector graph the vector database does, it just compresses it into one embedding, and all of this information about relationships and objects is lost. So the reasoning does not happen as in the way we've seen, that I jump from one part of the graph to the next and form statements and then answer the question. This does not happen. So there isn't also you don't have the explainability of knowledge graphs. So that's the first reason. Knowledge graphs are semantically richer because they model the world very abstractly. They model the world, and they model it in a way that the LLM can form statements, and these statements are linked. That's the first thing. The second thing is explainability. For example, when you have someone in economy, they want to see why the chatbot answered in this way so it can trust the answer. Otherwise, they're going to go check themselves. So knowledge graphs are very good at explainability too. So when you have something that requires more than just compressing the information and, answering based on that, when you have something more semantically rich, then knowledge graphs are better options. So that is the why. Do you guys have any questions about the why before I go to the
I think
how?
we have got 10 minutes left in this session.
Yeah.
We can, if you got one or two more slides to rush to the close, we can postpone questions till the after party if you
Got
want
it.
to come and join that. Otherwise,
Okay.
yeah, let's see if we can
All right.
have a
Let's
good.
go over the how.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Reza. Okay. So the first part really, when I'm assessing knowledge graphs, how am I going to build them? So the goal is to answer particular niche questions, right? So the first thing I need to know is to identify the knowledge gap. As we just mentioned, when the chatbot starts to hallucinate, then you've probably detected a knowledge gap. So when someone wants to answer a particular set of questions grounded in facts, these questions are representing the knowledge gap. And this knowledge gap is basically, what do you wish your chatbot knew? So if I'm going to be asking about, I'm not going to go into the exact questions, but questions about the economy basically. And these are the questions that chatbot was not able to answer correctly. These set of questions collectively represent what you wish your chatbot knew, but actually does not know. And this is what we call the knowledge gap. And our goal is that we want to reduce this knowledge gap, right? So the first thing is to identify the knowledge gap. You need to identify an opportunity to consider knowledge graphs. Okay. So as we already mentioned, I'm not able to see. Yeah. So we wish we knew more about the economic landscape of Hong Kong, their legal system, their classification system, and so on. So naturally, the second thing is, now I know I have a knowledge gap. The next part is, where can I find data that would fill that knowledge gap? So if I want to answer, you can think of it this way. These questions I'm unable to answer. Where should I look to be able to answer these questions? Okay. So in this case, we need to identify the needed data sources, right? And they need to fit our criteria. So someone was mentioning bias. So if I'm going to be answer about economy, then I cannot rely on blog sources, right? Maybe I can rely on their industrial manual. Maybe I can rely on official press releases on governmental websites, expert opinions that are known to not be biased but more insightful than biased. So these would be our data sources to answer questions about the economy. And other factors we need to consider are because, when you're experimenting with knowledge graphs or in anything in general, you don't want to invest a lot of effort without making sure it's the right tool. So we need to make sure we're selecting data sources that are easy to process. So if you have documents that are easy to process Python-wise, you don't need to still scrape websites and store the websites and then chunk the websites. So if you have something that's readily available, that's better. Something that's comprehensive. So for example, the classification manual covers all the economic activities of the country, so it's pretty comprehensive, as opposed to one blog post describing a very specific expert opinion. This one is more broad, more comprehensive horizontally. And of course, the degree of reliance. So when an expert answers these questions, how much do they rely on this source? So a manual is something that's basic. All the experts need to understand that, right? So these are some criteria to pick your data sources because, of course, we don't have time to explore all of the data in the world.